In this video, we're going to look at the subtotal command. Let's go to the folder called Excel Files, open it up, and the file that we're looking for is called Mr. Excel Pivot Table. Mr. Excel Pivot Table. Let's open that up. And we have a good size file here. Let's widen the columns by hitting the global button. And coming up in here between the columns and quickly double left clicking it. What we would like to see is how big is this table. And we know it's a table because we have our headers in that first row running across. The headers are once again, looking at this table again, we have our headers running across. They're commonly known in database talk as field names. The rows beneath those field names are our records. If we want to see how big this table is, one way of doing it is going to the end of the table. The easiest way of doing that is by holding down the Control key and then tapping End, E-N-D. We can see here that our table is 2,000 rows long. That's counting the field names. So in fact, there's 1999 records. To go to the top of the table, Control Home. Once again, to go down to the end, Control End. Control Home takes us to the top of the table. Because of the size of this table, as a rule, we would want to freeze our panes. How we do that, in other words, we want to be able to always see our field names or our headers. We can position the cursor beneath those field names and then click on View, Freeze Panes, click on Freeze Panes again. And what we see here is we have a line running across. If we hit Control End now, we're down on row 2000, but we can still see our headers. That's what Freeze Panes does for you. Let's go up to the top again, Control Home. If we want to unfreeze our panes, View tab, Freeze Panes, unfreeze them. But because of the size of this table, in fact, we would want to have them frozen. I'm going to go back in there with the View tab, Freeze Panes, right here. Now, to get into this subtotal command, there's a few different steps that we need to do. First off, whatever we're going to subtotal by, whatever field that we're going to subtotal by, we need to make sure that that is sorted. That's always your first step. So the first step is always to sort by that field that you're going to subtotal on. In this case, what we want to do is we want to subtotal on region, on the field called region, which means that what we want to do first off is to sort on the region field. One way of doing that is by positioning your cursor right below the headers or field names. Right click, sort, and then a custom sort. We want to sort by, hit the down arrow, and we're going to choose the field by the name of region. I want it to be in ascending order, which is A to Z. So I can now hit OK. As we can see, it's now been sorted. Midwest, North, after doing our sort, the next thing we do is click on the Data tab and then come way over to the right and click on the Subtotal icon. We'll get a dialog box, and it's important that we fill in all the information within this dialog box. First off, that first row at each change in, what that means is, what are you going to subtotal on? What field are you going to subtotal on? It's not date, so we're going to hit the down arrow and choose the region field. That's what we want our subtotals based on. Next, we choose a function. In this case, we're going to choose sum or add. However, we do have the options to also count, average, minimize, or find a maximum number. But we're going to stick with sum. The third box, and many people kind of rush through this one, the third box are the fields that we're going to sum. And the fields that we're going to sum for this exercise are COGS, cost of goods sold, and also sales. Keep in mind that you can only sum a numeric field. You can't sum region, which is a text field, or sales rep. Next, we're going to click on OK. We know that our subtotal command has worked because we have these three numbers up on top. If we click on 1, that'll give us the grand total. If we click on 2, that's going to give us our summary. As a rule, that's what we're looking for, the 2. We have subtotals for our Midwest region, our North region, Northeast region, Southeast, and West. If we click on 3, we see everything. Once again, let's click on the 2. That is in fact our subtotal where we're getting the summary or the summation for each of our regions. Now a trick here sometimes is that after you've done this subtotaling, and we could have also done it on sales rep or customer, however we would have had to go back and resort on those fields. But before we do that, if we ever had to copy this summary, the steps to do that would be to hold down the Alt key and then semicolon. What's happened here is that it's highlighted only the visible cells. And how I got that? I tapped or held down the Alt key, semicolon. Then I would go up and click on Copy. You see these dancing ants here. Go to a new sheet. Right click, paste special, and we go to values. To get rid of those dancing ants, hit the escape key. Now, if you make a mistake using the subtotal command, or if you need to do it once again on a different field, what you have to do is once again go back to that subtotal command. I'm going to click on the Data tab. Make sure that your cursor is positioned somewhere within your table. Click on Subtotal, and then we can remove all. It brings the table back to its original state. In summary, for the subtotal command, the steps are always initially to sort on the field that you're going to create your subtotals on. After doing that sort, you click on the Data button, subtotal icon, change the field that you're grouping on. In this case, we were doing region. Choose what function you're going to use, and then make sure that you have the correct fields checked off, keeping in mind always that you can only sum a numeric field. Hit OK, and your command should work. Thank you.